Important text message, I take it? Just your typical teenage drama. So then, if you wouldn't mind filling me in on a few details. Androids and cops. By the way, couldn't help but notice that you're light on staff. It's 3 in the morning. Are you expecting a parade? I thought there'd be at least a few androids around. Aren't many androids in any police station this week? Not while the brass is renegotiating contracts. Contracts with Noble? Good guess. Hardly, they're the biggest. Hardly. They're the biggest robotics corp there is. Could spend all day in City Center without leaving their office's shadow. Yes, we're very fortunate to have them headquartered here. Saves us some money on shipping at least. But these talks never last that long. I'm sure they'll be back to writing checks for Noble ads by the end of the month. Even with Noble pushing those warm androids. Warm, yeah. Might as well call it the adult line. Might see him in the bigger departments or out on patrol, but not around these offices. Warm or cold, there's no such thing as an android detective. Yet. Yet? Really? Yet? You really think that'll happen? We already use ads for patrolling, securing the scene, pacifying crowds. Doesn't seem like that big of a stretch to me. You're joking, right? Android detectives. With all the pain we go through getting witnesses to talk to us? With your warm personality, I can't imagine. Cop knocks on your door, starts asking questions, you're going to be put in a bad mood. An ad knocks on your door, calls you a degenerate criminal in a synthesized voice loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. You're going to start posting shit that'll get you put on a list. Well, we certainly don't want that. But flesh and blood witnesses are becoming less and less common anyway. Cameras, sensors, satellites, we already get all our facts from machines. Give it a few more years, it might make sense to let machines do the investigating too. The union would. The police union wouldn't let that happen. She needn't have specified. It's the only real union there is anymore. Let me in on that heartbreak. Checking my phone here, and I have to say, you've done a pretty admirable job keeping the details of HK's crimes a secret. The less reputable sites are doing some real journalistic acrobats trying to piece together a story. Yeah, top 11 theories on who hurt HK was a real weighty read. It's not just journalists though, all kinds have been emboldened. The freaks that HK's managed to bring out of the woodwork in just a few weeks. Can you blame them though? I mean, he's a genuine serial killer. Repeat offenders in general are an endangered species, but he's gotten away with. We know what he's gotten away with. Take a look around us, detective. National DNA registry is robust enough that cases never go cold. Cameras on every street, a phone on every citizen. Violent crime at an all-time low and clearance rates at all-time highs. But you gonna spout some alt-pol bullshit about invasion of privacy? No, I'm not. People are safer now than any other time in history, detectives. So when someone like Heartbreak does come along... Good point. Lund's trying to look like he can laugh it off. But pressure from the higher-ups must be reaching its peak. They want, maybe need, to see someone charged, and that makes them predictable. Yeah, well, even if there's nothing standard about HK. Department SOP still dictates we starve the media for case details. That way when we do feed them, they're grateful for whatever scraps they get. But we can't take all the credit this time around. Homicide's tight-knit and tight-lipped, but not like there's much information for us to leak in the first place. And why's that? Because none of the shootings were caught on the opt-in crime surveillance system. How is that even possible? I know that there are some rough areas in the lower wards, but optics is watching every other street in the entire city. You're saying you haven't seen this killer on camera once? You think we'd have let him kill 6 people if we did? I understand your concern, man, but optics is only what it says in the name. Private surveillance system signing up to feed into the state's security network. It's not perfect. Just another one of the many public safety tools in our belt. It's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to help us solve crimes. Or at least act as a deterrent. One would hope so. Fat chance, deterrents are for war rooms and board meetings. Anyone crazy or desperate enough to commit a crime in a city like this couldn't care less about anything as vague as the consequences of their actions. It's like a safety blanket, one with very few holes left in it. But it does have holes. Patching up those remaining holes takes effort, and that effort usually means rebooting the system. There's all kinds of technical details and digital bureaucracy involved. But the end result is that there are occasional localized blackouts, and the math used to schedule them is not impossible to predict. I see. But those windows of opportunity are small and short. Taking advantage of them requires specific knowledge. You'd need to be involved in law enforcement, pub data, or city planning. They'd have mentioned it if my client was a cop, and he wouldn't have needed a public defender either. His file says he's modded for heavy mass manipulation, not tech interfacing, so that just leaves city planning. So does he work construction for the city? HK's only ever struck at times and locations where optics would be down, even with the devil's own luck. It can't possibly be coincidence. Wait, so you're saying when this woman was killed? Yeah, there was a blackout from around 8 to 9 a.m. tonight. Right on schedule, so to speak. And it included the area surrounding the victim's apartment. Well, what about DNA from the other crime scenes? Was my client a match? There's been no blood, no saliva, no suspect DNA at any of the crime scenes. No footage and no forensics. Also no motives, tampering, or witnesses. It's been like hunting a damn ghost. We didn't even have a murder weapon. It's like hunting a damn ghost. We didn't even have a murder weapon. Until now. Finally, a lucky break from the boys in blue. Scanners, cams, drones, forensics. No matter how you dress it up with tech, all detective work relies on one basic assumption. People make mistakes. But HK's the kind of monster who doesn't make mistakes. Only reason we even caught him tonight was because he finished what he had set out to do all along. So was my client on the list of suspects before tonight? Weren't you listening? There was no list of suspects. We questioned some X's, a few CIs, someone even spoke to 1 or 2 unlisted at some point. Nothing came of it. There was talk about starting on some kind of psych eval or something, but I never expected much to come of that. There's just not enough there to work with. In other words, the only thing they have, the only thing they could have, to link my client to those killings is the murder weapon. If I can jostle that keystone, then the rest of their case should start to come loose as well. Details. So how about the basics? What exactly has my client been charged with? The client, Carlos Baker Flat, was arrested on the scene at 9:50 p.m. Using his middle name already, they really do think he's a serial killer. The charge being the first-degree murder of his girlfriend, a Mrs. Diane Dawn. First degree, that's increasingly rare, to say the least. It's rare for us to get handed anything but crimes of passion around here. Say he's got damn near more cameras than people. So you gotta be really, really stupid to try and get away with murder. Well, Heartbreak's gotten away with it 6 times. So what's that make him? 5 times, and that makes him insane. So I'm gonna go with extraordinary. Let's split the difference and say he's extraordinarily insane. But nut jobs like him aren't renowned for their ability to think ahead. So what makes you think this was premeditated? How about the fact that he stalked and killed 5 other women as a warm-up? A warm-up? 5 previous bullets, 5 previous victims. None of them knew each other, lived near each other, or worked in the same fields. Weeks of digital autopsies crawling up and down their online profiles. Nothing. So the serial killer chose his victims at random? They have nothing in common. Yeah, nothing in common at all. Other than they all look like cousins. The physical similarities are striking. All 5 prior victims were young women with brown hair and eyes, about the same height, comparable weight. All those features aren't exactly uncommon. Couldn't it be a coincidence? If you really believe that, you should quit your job and start buying lotto tickets. HK's got himself a type. Anyone can see that. It really is, Sam. I fucking love the art for this. I mean, even look at this character portrait right now. You're really gonna try and tell me you don't see the resemblance? A young woman, brown hair, brown eyes. Can't tell how tall she is from a portrait, but I can take the hint. So you think what, exactly? That Carlos Flat wanted to kill his girlfriend so badly he went out and shot 5 other women first? Hey, if the shoe fits. If the shoe fits, then you put the shoe on the... What Sunshine means is that it's not uncommon for killers to displace their violence from people close to them onto outlets with fewer consequences. Drifters, loners, strangers, workers. He was probably building up the nerve for tonight by practicing on these other similar women. Or he's just so far gone that he can't tell the difference anymore. It's not the worst theory in the world, but it doesn't fit. They want to claim that the previous victims were practice runs, dress rehearsal for tonight's main event. But if that were the case, there would have been signs of hesitation, nerves. There would have been mistakes. On top of which guns are impersonal, execution shots even more so. There's no sadism or hatred or intimacy in a single bullet to the heart. Killing her girlfriend or her lookalikes usually is, if nothing else, a lot less sterile, if you ask me. I thought the time of death was 9 p.m. on the autopsy, but do you have a timeline for the rest of the night's events? Can't trust much of what comes out of his mouth. But we've managed, thanks to less biased outsources. We're pretty confident about what we've been able to piece together from their statements. So they interviewed witnesses? Sounds eerily similar to real police work. The suspect and his girlfriend were arguing. The suspect and his girlfriend were arguing loudly with one another starting around 8 p.m. Neighbors were very clear about that part. Couldn't wait to tell us about the happy couple's domestic problems. Everyone in the building knew they'd been fighting for weeks. As you probably gathered from what you saw in the arcs, there was a struggle. Furniture turned over, glass shattered. But things go quiet sometime before 9 p.m. And then there was a gunshot. Scrubbers are still scrubbing. looking for audio from the area to get a timestamp. But we heard from enough concerned citizens to be pretty damn sure about the time. Right. Emergency services got a burst of calls from the block shortly after 9 p.m. No one seemed to recognize the sound for what it was, but the silence that followed was pretty universally alarming. Officers arrived on the scene at 9 p.m., established a perimeter, entered through the open front door at 9:10 p.m., and then they find your client crouched over his dead girlfriend, his hand covered in her blood. At which point they moved to secure the scene and the suspect. Sorry, did you say his hand, singular? Your client's modded cybernetic right arm. How modded are we talking about here? That's okay, Sam. Registered with a HAO 85 habilis, or HAO. Registered with a HAO 85 habilis, industrial grade, looks like. Says he's spec'd for dexterous manipulation of up to class 4 KPA, which means a minimum grip strength of, well, basically, he could crush your neck without even gritting his teeth. Considering a career change? No, it's not that, it's just your eye must be very sensitive for you to put the patch back on each time. I was just thinking about that. And here I thought you just had a 14-year-old sense of fashion. Oh. Really? Gonna tell me that the eye patch is a 14-year-old sense of fashion? Really, Morgan? Come on. You think a cop would cover up her dominant eye because it was fashionable? I actually thought the same thing the first time we met. You what? But getting back on track, that arm of his has been in the shop for some time now. He can't work without it. Money got tight. The arguing? Yeah. When did you put his arm in for repairs? 8 days before HK's first victim was killed. Well, no chance they'd be willing to chalk that up to coincidence. Your client was arrested on the scene after a preliminary scan found his fingerprints on the revolver, and no one else's. A revolver? What kind? The old kind. The real old kind. More specifically, a Calver M54, 6-chamber 10mm. Calver? How retro. You don't know the half of it. We're talking steel chamber, real gunpowder, mechanical firing pin, and no tags. No tags? How is that? Just how old are we talking here? Yeah, 24/7 location data, time-stamped trigger pulls, safeties coded to owner biometrics. For the past 3 decades, tags have made shooting crimes very unambiguous. So you're claiming my client used some kind of antique to commit these crimes? How else do you think he could have gotten away with this 5 other times? If he tried to buy a gun legit, he probably failed the first psych check. And even jailbroken pieces are only good for so long before update withdrawal sets in. So then M54, that's model year 2054. A 30-year-old gun. Well, that sure complicates things, doesn't it? In some ways, sure. But pre-tagging firearms are rare. Gotta be less than 1,000 of them left in the whole country, and fewer still compatible bullets. The ammunition would have to be over 30 years old, too. The novelty of his weapon has kept us in the dark so far. But now that we have our hands on it, it's gonna put him away for good. Archive department complained loud as hell about how deep they had to dig. But with the protocols they found, the techs were able to match the rifling marks on all 6 bullets to the gun your client was found with. Rifling marks? Bullets fired from guns that old are marked by the barrel shape. So if all 6 bullets had the same rifling marks, we know that they were all fired by the same gun. It's not as plug-and-play as tags are, but it's equally precise science, I assure you. And if that's not damning enough, the spent casings from the other 5 students were still in the chamber, without even needing to reload. The caliber your client was found with is the gun HK used to kill 6 women. No way to lawyer around that. An untagged gun? Just being anywhere near a weapon like that could warrant your arrest. Being found by the police over a dead body with an untagged gun used at 5 other crime scenes is just... To summarize then, you believe that my client fought verbally, then physically with his girlfriend, and then he retrieved this weapon and shot her. Yeah, pretty much. How did he look when the officers found him? Guilty. How was his effect? Quiet, detached, stiff. Not exactly the picture of a grieving partner. That actually may have lost some points with the cops, but beyond that, people react to loss in all kinds of unusual ways. So long as the police are suspicious of you, there's no right way to grieve. Thanks for the chat, detectives. I think I understand the background well enough now. Candidly, I see the same strokes you do, and the picture it paints isn't pleasant. But even so, it seems a bit unrefined to be brought before a judge, don't you think? Hey, it's only our job to catch the bastard. The DA is the one who gets the conviction. Besides, we're not exactly going to have to work hard to convince anyone of his guilt. And why is that? Because we found a handwritten confession at his desk. Well, that's unexpected. I'm sorry. You're now telling me that he wrote a confession? Has it been verified? Not yet. We have to muscle past everyone in fraud and disinfo to get to the front of that line. Why bother? The note's covered in his fingerprints. There's a copy in the discovery data, but I should warn you. It doesn't exactly make for light reading. I'll have to manage somehow. I need to see this confession for myself. Sorry for everything. Can't say it enough. Didn't mean to hurt you or do what I did. Did not want any of it to happen. Can't say in control when I get mad. When I'm not in control, I hurt people without meaning to. Wish I hadn't broken them. Didn't mean to at first, but I was hurting. Wanted to hurt you too, but didn't want to hurt you. Words aren't enough, I know that now. I'll take responsibility and do what I've been avoiding. Please forgive me. That was difficult to read. Barely legible, in fact. Well, got a spin on that? No need. But it's a confession. Not a confession that he signed, though, is it? Not yet. And not one he intends to sign anytime soon, considering that he asked for a representative. Yeah, the most wanted man in the city asked for a lawyer, and got you. Guess you're both lucky. Hardly. Shit. Hang on. Guess you're both lucky. Hardly. I just happened to be awake when the call went out. But I'm not so flush with work that I can't afford to turn tail now. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go and speak with my client. What? He's not still handcuffed in there, is he? Look, counselor, with all due respect, we have strong evidence pointing to the man being responsible for 6 murders. 2 hours or so in cuffs isn't cruel or unusual. And that's for your safety as well. It's kind of you to worry, but I doubt I'll be in any danger. He's killed 6 women. None of them were redheads. Seriously, though, I'd like to speak with him alone now. Camera's off if you don't mind. Mic's on or off is your call, counselor. but we'll be watching the feed from right outside in case anything happens. And the cuffs that is, stays on. That worried about me? How chivalrous. Yeah, my armor's practically blinding. Gross. I'll start up the unlike cycle. Counselor, just one last word of advice. If you have any interest in his well-being, I suggest you help him sign that confession. Not a bad idea. I do get paid either way. But the defense part of defense attorney isn't just for show detective. I mean it. 6 people dead is one thing, but he's also caused weeks of widespread terror and public unrest. Putting it another way, he's made the state look bad. That's a capital crime if there ever was one. And even if the death penalty is not actually on the table these days, I can guarantee he's not going to like whatever rehabilitation plan they draw up for him. Look, I've seen the virtual work release program in person, and it's being challenged before the Supreme Court. Yeah, sometime in the next decade, maybe. Just remember, a plea deal might feel like a loss for you, but if it keeps him from, well, that's probably a win for your client, right? I see London, I see France. Prison sentences are generally lighter for those who plead guilty, that much is true. Saves the courts a great deal of time and money, and they show their gratitude with reduced sentencing. But no one will ever be grateful towards the heartbreak killer. Anyone convicted for killing 6 people, they'll never rest their mind another day in their life. 3:35 a.m., June 5th, 2086. Hello. It's depressing as hell in here. They need to liven this place up. Carlos flat, right? Hope you don't mind if I get comfortable. We've got a lot to cover. This shouldn't take all night. What do you... Look, I've already told you people. I'm not a cop, Carlos. Furthest thing from it. I'm a lawyer. Your lawyer, in fact. And I'm here to help you. Yeah, well. They said that too. All of them did. Back there and here, kept repeating it the whole ride over. They said they were going to help me, that they knew this was all a mistake. Then they said I killed, acting like they were on my side, and they thought that I could have, It's not their job to help you, Carlos, but it is mine, and I'm here now. He's still in shock. I need more information, but if I approach this the wrong way, he'll just clam up even more. I'm sure you're exhausted. It's probably difficult to think, let alone speak. But I'd like you to try to answer a few questions. The police already questioned you, I'm sure. But they were treating you as a suspect, not as a client. Okay. So what do you want to know? Carlos is kind of hot. About you. Let's start simple. Something mundane, grounded, rote. I'd like to know a bit more about you first, Carlos. Something like, what line of work are you in? I'm with City Engineering. Or I was, or I should be. As I thought, the police must be convinced he mapped out the optics blackouts using data he stole from work. My arm. I got it slotted for the job. And, Carlos sighing. I may need more than that. So what do I know? He works in City Engineering, not a desk job. Ray said he was modded for work in that arm. Must be in custody at the moment, but based on his shoulder, it'd have to be pretty... lifelike perhaps, with the fake skin and the faux hair and the simulated blood flow. As if. I've seen his apartment. He's not that kind of spender. No, he's pragmatic, grounded, and very unlucky. In which case, I should be too. You know, my brother wanted to mod. Really? Really? I don't even have a brother. He had everything planned out. A whole career path of promotions and bonuses and the upgrades they'd afford him. Then came his 18th birthday present. Test results politely confirming him that he is not a viable candidate. That sucks. I think he felt relieved, actually. Seemed like a weight off his chest. Like he was glad he didn't have to choose. Does that make any sense? Yeah, I think it does. I always figured I'd start small. Hand or an eye, test the water. Never thought about lobbing my whole damn arm off, but the recruiter was enthusiastic. He said, because of the NCDA, there was financial aid and resources. Of course, that got shit canned. So now me and every other modder was royally screwed. Couldn't even let me keep the task credit. New Citizens with Disabilities Act was amended, not repealed. But I doubt he'd appreciate the distinction at the moment. I worked the tighter spaces, the high volt environments, mostly canopy upbeat. Typical stuff for modders, you know? He's speaking freely now. Don't need to do much more than repeat his words back to him to keep him talking. But the right word choice here or there can still make a difference. You work on the canopy? You must be under a lot of pressure. You must be under a lot of pressure now that the subways are crippling off. Damn straight, this crap was long. Once word got out that the case against him was real, every desk job in the chain became terrified of their own shadow. All of them convinced that internal affairs is going to come knocking if they misplace so much as a paperclip. Everything by the book means no room for compromise, no room for problem solving. No room for engineering? Yeah. And no patience for screw-ups. He's trying very hard not to look at his shoulder. Why aren't you wearing your prosthetic right now, Carlos? Yeah, that. Rejection issues, starting last month. A lot of sleepless nights. Rejection? Does the therapy not take? It's not like that. I wasn't oozing pus out of my sockets or anything. Then, do these rejection issues have anything to do with your scars? Not in the way you're thinking. I'm right-handed. So those cuts on his face are just from shaving? Never thought this go on so long I'd have to relearn how to do everything. I mean, the problem started small, trembling, but then spasms. Just oversensitivity, they said, an easy fix. But the problem got bigger. Couldn't let it get that far. Need to be able to trust your own hands when you're on the job site. Drop a cutter at the wrong moment and people could get hurt. So I sat down, made an appointment, turned in my arm. Watched my case get placed at the back of the damn line. Where did you turn it in? Some mass turnaround chop shop with a waiting list like you wouldn't. Doesn't sound like you're a happy customer. Hell no. I'd found a dozen other clinics with shorter wait times. But as long as I'm renting and not owning, the manufacturer decides where your arm gets maintenance. That's why I'm sitting here with this expensive ass stump for a shoulder. Haven't been able to work in weeks. Bosses were generous enough to say my position might still be there when I've got 2 working arms again. Couldn't buy or rent a replacement yourself, just in the meantime? I serve at the pleasure of the state. They've got exclusivity rights with Hindi. All locked up with white knuckle tight. Hindi? How Industries? As I recall, he registered with one of their Habilis models. If I took one step on site with uninsured tech, forget the fines. I'd lose the down payment and my own. And I'd never work in the city again. If this was last quarter, maybe I could have worked something out with management, but like I said, no one's sticking their neck out for anyone now that Long's in deep hot shit. You mentioned discomfort. Are you in pain? Pain will come and go. It's the itches that kill you. And the phantoms. Yeah, and the phantoms come pretty fast. And the phantoms come back pretty fast when I don't have anything. Arm shape attached to me. Didn't they give you something to, well, wear in the meantime? Something the clinics lend out for cases like this? What they gave me is a dead weight, 3-jointed landfill bait piece of shit. Sorry, it's a very shitty feeling. Having a part of your body that you know they cut corners on. It fits, it's compatible, technically. I can slot it in and fill on balance again. But the fingers don't even bend and the quick twitch motors are way off. It's like walking around with your arm asleep, or dead. So were you wearing it when you were... she died? When she died? That's about as subtle as a sledgehammer. I can be a little less blatant than that. Were you wearing it when you were arrested? No, I wasn't. But I'm pretty sure I saw the police bagging it as evidence, so can't have gone too far. So Detective Reyes was being quite literal about how he was found. He had the victim's blood on his left arm only because at the time in question he didn't even have a right. No inconsistencies in the story so far, and he's opened up about as well as can be expected. But this has all just been a warm-up for the both of us. Now comes the delicate part. Carlos, you and the victim were romantically involved. How long did you know each other? Right. I've known her since college. We shared a few classes, some mutual friends. Always got along. Eventually we just got together at some point. Guess I never actually asked her out real formal way. Sounds pretty cowardly saying that out loud. Diane, she was in genetics, focused her studies on agriculture. It always takes them a few tries to get used to using past tense. Just finished her post-grad work this year. Got hired right out of the gate. Practically headhunted, do you believe that? Practically headhunted. Of course she was. Any company'd be lucky to have her, unlike. It was a real ass job, paid real ass money too. So her career was starting to pan out. Right as yours had fallen into the mother of all slumps. Where was she hired? Pedigree? No, Peregree Laboratories. I say that like the name matters. The whole setup's under Harco's umbrella. That doesn't narrow it down. The Harvest Corporation grows 1/3 of the soybeans and corn in the entire country. One client that size, the lab wouldn't need any others. Now, no corporation earns the mega prefix without a little throat cutting, but Harco is about as tame as big businesses can get. Predictable like the seasons. No one's gonna buy that they had some lab tech murdered because of corporate greed. Muppets Party Cruise is a 2003 party video game based on the Muppets franchise, developed by Mass Media and published by TDK Media Active for the PlayStation 2 and GameCube. This was the Muppets' last video game before the franchise was acquired by the Walt Disney Company in 2004. Had she adjusted well to her new job? Yeah, they loved having her there. She never mentioned arguments or disputes, corporal politics getting rough. I don't think so. Not like I've been a good listener lately. I never got the impression that she... Look, no one I know could do this to her. And there's nothing she could have done that would deserve what happened to her. You're very welcome, Sam. It was a long shot, hoping for a disgruntled character from her past to shift blame onto. But with no other suspects, I can't just reshuffle the detective's suspicions. I'll have to disprove their argument entirely. Thank you, Carlos. That was very helpful. It was? Now I'd like you to try and tell me whatever you can about what happened tonight. Oh. Start at the beginning and take your time. The details are important. Alright, Miss, Morgan. I'll try Morgan. When you're ready. We were arguing. We had been arguing a lot lately. Arguing about stupid stuff. I haven't been working, haven't been making money, haven't been pulling my weight. I was mad at myself, but more than that, I was jealous of her. Jealous over nothing. Jealous over goddamn money. The reports say that you were arguing around 8 p.m. 8? Yeah, must have been when we started. We got into it and Shit. Sorry, hang on, y'all. We got into it and I said a lot of things that I shouldn't have. I said one thing that I really, really shouldn't have. I crossed the line and we both knew it, so I left. You left? Yeah. Walked out the front door. Thought some fresh air might help me cool off. Help me figure out what to say to make it up to her. Of course, the air wasn't fresh, just humid. Thick like mud. While I was pissing away the time, Diane was... Did you bring your phone with you or any other electronics? No. Kinda stormed off. Didn't even take my key fobs. Didn't even lock the door behind me. With optics down, traffic and street level cameras won't help him. That leaves. Did you go through a checkpoint or talk to anyone with modded eyes? Did you buy anything, cash or credit? No, not even a vending machine. Not even a damn vending machine, huh? May have met my match. How can anyone be this unlucky? That's quite unfortunate. I just wanted quiet at the time. Wanted to wallow in it, really. Sorry if I don't have all the details straight. My head is... But if my exact route would help, the cams probably. What? What is it? Optics was what? Can that even happen? And there was no other proof that you were out at the time Diane was killed? Meaning you've got no alibi. This can't. Listen, I didn't do this, I couldn't. Carlos. I'm the one person you don't have to try and convince. After all, I'm your lawyer. So let's just get it all out there and see what we've got to work with. Right. Now you said you left to clear your head. So what made you come back? I came back because I heard a noise. A loud noise. Didn't know what it was. But it was loud, and it scared me. And it came from the direction of our apartment. I was walking back at first. But at some point I must have started running because when I got back I was so out of breath. And when I saw that, the front door was open. Something dropped in my chest and my lungs wouldn't. You live on the first floor, right? Yeah, first floor apartment, street facing entrance. We were proud of that when we first moved in. Like it was some kind of big deal. From the hallway I saw her, but I didn't realize. Never thought that she was The lights were off, the whole room was a mess. I thought we had been robbed, or she had fallen, or there was broken glass, furniture knocked over. And she was... I called her name and she didn't move. I checked her pulse and she was still warm. Her blood was warm. And I saw the gun. It looked so heavy, but I thought it had to be fake because I didn't want it to be real. Is that why you picked it up? What? Pick it up. I didn't touch that thing. I didn't shoot her, damn it. Doing what I do, you hear a lot of lies. White lies, blatant lies, hasty lies, bad lies especially. For me, it's always been easy to spot a lie, but it can be hard to know what to do about it. I have all the proof I need in my files, but he's nervous and defensive. And none of this works if he doesn't trust me. Stay up to date on the details of all evidence by checking your phone. If your clients notice that you don't know what you're talking about, they'll stop giving you any credit. You did touch the gun, Carlos. That's good, Schmorks. We are gonna do an hour of Disco Elysium in just a little bit, and about another 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna eat noodle, Schmorks. What kind of noodles are you gonna order? You did touch the gun, Carlos. That's just a fact, and we know because of your prints. It's a fact that your fingerprints are on that gun. What? But I didn't do this. I wasn't thinking. I was just... Carlos. All I'm saying is that you picked it up. That's all. Would you believe me if I said I didn't realize it was a gun? That explains how his prints got on the gun. But not in a way that would satisfy the police. Ooh, that sounds delicious, Morks. Still, if all he did was hold the gun. So stupid. I know what a gun looks like. But seeing it in my own home, right in front of... You were in shock, Carlos. You still are. The police came in sometime after that. I don't remember much of what they said. Things started moving fast, it seemed like. The rest of my night went Probably the way you'd expect. Carlos, you admit to having a verbal argument with Diane, but you said you were surprised to see the room trashed when you got back. To clarify, you're saying that you two never had a physical fight? What? Physical? We never fought. We never fought like that. Did the police say that we did? They assumed as much. Which means they also assumed the room was disheveled well before the shooting occurred. Considering what Carlos has told me, what else did they assume? What is it? I'd like you to take a look at something for me. The crime scene. Oh. It's an AR module built from data taken as the police entered, so... right, it's just that... It's just data, Carlos. No grisly details. Okay. Let me see it. Take your time. Alright, I think I've got it. That's how the police found things. Now close your eyes and think back to how the room looked when you left. Try and focus on what's out of place. Alright. I'll take notes, you just say whatever comes to mind. I don't remember exactly where everything was, but well, the mirror was upright, of course, and that clock was still on the wall. The chair got knocked over at some point and the bed got tossed, the cushions torn, and the urn fell. Other than that... No, sorry, that's all that stands out to me. I see. Like so? What's wrong? Something out of place? Carlos, you need to trust your instinct. If anything seems off, don't be afraid to speak up. It's just, I guess I just assume your notes will be making edits to the IR. Well, I suppose that works too. Sorry, I didn't mean... I think your drawing was pretty good, considering. I'd like to change the subject now, Carlos. Right. Let's talk about the letter that was found on your desk. Letter? What do you mean? I mean this letter here. Do you recognize it? Because the police are calling it a confession. A confession? But this is just a note to self. Pardon? Look, when we fight, I lose my temper, say things I don't mean to. So this morning I tried writing things down so I'd have a script to stick to. So I could apologize to her instead of just fighting with her. Carlos, you say in the note that you hurt them? That's... I broke her fidget tubbies. Her fidget tubbies. Her what? Her what? Her fidget tubbies. There are these collectible ceramic character things. They're supposed to be like tactile. You use them as paperweights or conversation starters. Conversation starters? She loved those little things. They're not worth a damn. You can buy them at any flea market or garage sale, but they meant a lot to her. And I broke them. I mean, I was pissy at the time, but that goddamn piece of shit rental arm. I hardly know where I'm swinging it half the time. Got so angry I just ripped it off and tossed it into my room. That cheap, dusty, worthless. Okay, let's say he did break her fidgeted duckies with his replacement arm. What does that change? Nothing at the moment. There's not much detail in the note for me to prove what his intent was when he sat down to write it. But if the police insist on claiming it as a confession for the heartbreak killings anyway. Couldn't even bother to sweep them up, I felt so. Alright, Carlos, thanks for answering my questions. Now, I'm gonna call the police back in here and I'm gonna get this cleared up for you. What? That's it? That's it? Okay. Although, before I do that, I do have to ask. What do you know about the Heartbreak Killer?